Ah, Grandma's garden, a place of magic where ordinary met extraordinary, where every plant told its own story, and every fruit was a chapter in a delicious, quirky family saga. Nestled among those familiar friends, among the vegetables you saw every other day, and the supermarket usuals, were some of the weirdest fruits you've probably never heard of. The kind of fruits that made you squint, poke, and wonder if you've accidentally discovered a fruit from another planet. So, let's dust off the old seed catalogs and uncover 25 wonderfully weird fruits your grandma grew. The jelly palm fruit. Close your eyes for a second. Can you smell it? That's the smell of a warm afternoon, of a shaggy palm tree that looked like it wandered out of a dream, and of the golden orange treasure it dropped into Grandma's waiting baskets. This golden orange treasure is called the jelly palm fruit. This golden orange drupe grows in clusters from the pindo palm, a surprisingly cold-hardy tree. The fruit itself is highly fibrous. Eating it fresh is a bit like chewing on a sweet tropical loofah. But Grandma didn't want a fresh snack. She was after its magnificent essence, jelly. With a flavor described as a complex mashup of apricot, banana, and a hint of pineapple, it made the most uniquely flavored, fragrant, and brilliantly colored jelly you've ever spread on warm toast. Maypop. Don't be fooled by its serene, otherworldly lavender flower. This fruit had an explosive personality. The thrill of finding one, plump and green, and the pop of it under your barefoot sole is a memory that doesn't fade. That's the beauty of the Maypop fruit. The Maypop is the fruit of the native North American passion flower. Its name comes from the glorious, satisfying pop the fruit makes when you step on it. Inside its green, egg-like shell lies a cavity filled with juicy, seedy pulp that tastes like a tangy, herbal apricot. I can always remember Grandma snacking on them fresh in the garden and spitting the seeds into the dirt. Buddha's hand. This is the fruit that looked less like food and more like a bizarre, fragrant sculpture that lived in Grandma's fruit bowl, scenting the entire living room with the ghost of sweet lemons and old wood polish. This bizarre, lemon-scenting fruit is called Buddha's hand. Ring any bells? Well, Buddha's hand is a citron variety that is all rind and no pulp. But it's not all bad because what it lacks in juicy flesh, it makes up for in powerful sweet lemon fragrance. The kind of fragrance that Grandma used as a natural air freshener. She'd also get creative occasionally, zesting it into birthday cakes and Christmas sugar cookies. It's a fruit that gives and gives. A fragrant memory that lingers long after the last batch of cookies is gone. Pineberry. A strawberry that's white with red seeds and tastes like pineapple? It sounds like a genetic experiment gone wonderfully right. I can remember the summers when she had this fruit growing on the trellis out back. To me, they were albino strawberries. What they really are, though, are pineberries. This fruit is a distinct variety that ripens to a creamy white or pale pink hue. Their flavor is a surprising and delightful twist. The initial taste is unmistakably strawberry, but it finishes with a distinct, sharp tang of pineapple. They're often smaller than commercial strawberries and harder to grow in quantity, which is why you'd never see them in a store. But Grandma's garden had the magic needed to grow these guys. Pine berries are proof that you shouldn't judge a berry by its color. It might just be a tropical party in disguise. Serviceberry. Also known as Juneberry, Saskatoon, or Shadbush, the serviceberry has more aliases than a secret agent, but its mission was simple and unforgettable: to be the first sweet taste of early summer. This small, purplish berry grows on large shrubs or small trees and was an absolute staple for homesteaders and grandmas alike. They taste like a perfect hybrid of blueberry and almond with a sweet, rich flavor. They're absolutely great fresh, but like most berries from that era, their true calling was in pies. Grandma would also carefully dry them like raisins on wire screens in the sun or can them in gleaming glass jars, putting away little amethyst jewels of summer for when the colder, bleaker months rolled in. A berry so cherished, they named it 3 times. Medlar. There aren't many fruits as weird or as demanding as this fruit. Medlar. Here's a shocker. It's the only fruit you have to let it rot slightly before it's ready to eat. Picked from the tree in late autumn, a medlar is rock-hard and unbearably astringent. The process to make it sweeter and edible requires bletting, which is a fancy word for letting it soften and brown in a cool, dark place until it's mushy and the sugars concentrate. Once it looks like it's well past its prime, that means it's finally hit its prime. Grandma would often mix it with thick cream or sharp cheese for a decadent dessert, a fruit that teaches you that sometimes you have to be a little bit rotten to be your sweetest self. Just don't be rotten towards Grandma. Asian pear. Okay, you just might have this one, but there's still a twist. Does your modern waxed version ever crunch like the most perfect apple and juice like a waterfall? Well, Grandma's homegrown ones did, a celebration of texture itself. Unlike European pears, Asian pears are meant to be enjoyed crisp and hard. When perfectly ripe from the tree, they are juicy, sweet, and refreshing. Grandma loved them because they stored for ages in a cool root cellar, providing a fresh, hydrating fruit long into the winter. They often have beautiful golden bronze speckled skin and a perfectly round shape, the fruit that broke the conventional pear rules and decided to be more like an apple. Horned melon. Behold, the kiwano, also known as the horned melon or jelly melon. It looks like a plastic prop from a low-budget alien movie, and that's precisely why Grandma loved it. It was a curiosity, a little bit of harmless weirdness to liven up the dinner table. This African native is an oval fruit covered in fierce-looking spikes. But fear not, these spikes are soft and pose no danger. Slice it open and you'll find a vibrant green jelly-like flesh filled with seeds. The flavor is divisive. It's a cross between a cucumber, a banana, and a lime. Some adore it, others not so much. They're warm-season fruits. Grandma understood this, so it never went into the ground until all danger of frost had passed. A little page you can take out of Grandma's gardening Bible. Gooseberry. These translucent gems come wrapped in a warning. Thorns. Growing gooseberries was more than just gardening. It was an act of love for the fruit, the kind of love that, at times, costs a few drops of blood. Gooseberries grow on viciously thorny bushes, making the harvest a tactical mission. But the prize was worth it. They can be bracingly tart when green, perfect for pies. When left to ripen to a deep ruby red on the bush, they become incredibly sweet and complex, like a grape and a peach had a baby. Grandma would can them in syrup or make a vibrant emerald green jam, a fruit that fights back, literally, making its sweetness a hard-won victory. Black sapote. In the midst of all the bright colors and tart flavors, Grandma grew a secret chocolate pudding tree. To little me, it seemed like magic. She'd lead us all to it with a twinkle in her eye, promising dessert straight from a branch. What you're looking at is the black sapote. This fruit looks like a green, slightly ugly tomato, but when it's perfectly ripe and soft to the touch, the magic happens, giving the kind of sweetness you couldn't even dream of getting in a tomato. Inside, the flesh is a deep, dark brown, with a texture that is utterly smooth and pudding-like. The flavor is sweet, mild, and reminiscent of chocolate pudding. Grandma would simply scoop it out into bowls, mix it with a little splash of vanilla or a zest of orange, and serve it as an instant dessert. Who needed a box of instant pudding mix when you had a tree that grew it? Strawberry tree fruit. Here goes yet another strawberry impersonator. Strawberry tree fruits, the berries of the Arbutus unedu tree, are small, round, and red when ripe, slightly resembling strawberries. The strawberry tree, on the other hand, was a constant source of fascination in the corner of the yard. It offered pretty flowers, colorful, bumpy fruit, and peeling cinnamon-colored bark all at once. The strawberry tree fruit looks like a warty, rough strawberry, hence the name. The taste, however, is entirely different. When perfectly ripe, which it certainly must be before consumption, it has a mild, peachy flavor with a faint underlying bitterness. Grandma would have us all snack on it in the garden while telling stories. And when we got tired of that, she'd make the fruit into a delicious, tangy jam. Quince. The quince is the golden, fragrant, and rock-hard fruit that taught generations the meaning of transformation and patience. You can't eat it raw, but it's a different story when it comes in contact with some heat. Eating quince raw is sentencing yourself to an afternoon of torture. It's astringent, tough, and practically inedible. But when you slice it up and cook it low and slow, something miraculous occurs. It slowly transforms from pale yellow to a beautiful deep rose or ruby red and develops an incredible floral sweetness that smells like heaven. The mere smell of a quince baking or stewing is a quintessential grandma kitchen scent, a mix of apples, pears, flowers, and honey that would wrap around you like a warm hug. Sea buckthorn. This isn't your gentle grandma's fruit. This was her tough-as-nails, health tonic, superhero fruit. Sea buckthorn thrived where other fruits feared to tread, and Grandma respected its grit. It meant one less fruit she had to worry about. This thorny shrub produces massive quantities of tiny, bright orange berries that cling tightly to the branches like little jewels. They are incredibly tart and acidic. Eating one raw is a jaw-locking, eye-watering experience. Grandma would giggle as we made faces while eating them fresh. But they are nutritional powerhouses, packed with vitamins. She'd sometimes save us from its sour taste, mixing the potent sour liquid with honey and water to make a healthy tonic she'd insist you drink during the cold season. From a sour shot to a fruit that's sweet enough to be called honey, the first sweet reward after a long, cold wait. Honeyberry. Also known as haskap, this fruit was like an elongated blueberry that decided to taste like raspberry blueberry pie filling. It was the very first fruit to ripen in the muddy days of early spring, a small sweet beacon of hope after a lengthy winter. Honeyberries are the fruit of a specific type of edible honeysuckle. They look like long, blueberryish tubes with a curious, puckered end. The flavor is complex and intense, very sweet, with a slight tartness, often with deep notes of blackberry and raspberry. There's a reason why they ripened immediately after the cold months. They're incredibly cold-hardy, surviving temperatures far below what would kill a blueberry bush. For Grandma, they were the thrilling first fresh fruit of the year, a prize we'd eat straight from the bush, still cool from the morning dew. They say, the early bird gets the worm. Well, the early gardener gets the honeyberry. White currant, red currant, you know. Black currant, you also know. But have you heard of their long-lost brother, the white currant? It was the elegant, translucent, and slightly sweeter cousin in the currant family, and Grandma treated it with a certain reverence. White currants are simply a color variant of the red currant without the red pigment. They grow in beautiful pearl-like strands that look too delicate to be real. They are less tart than their red siblings, with a delicate, honey-sweet flavor. Because they are so beautiful and mild, Grandma often reserved them for elegant desserts. From a heavenly beauty, we go to a fruit that's a bit more down to earth, literally. Ground cherry. Say hello to the fruit that comes in its own perfect, papery Chinese lantern packaging. It was like nature's version of a fun-sized candy bar, and the ritual of unwrapping each one was already half the joy. Ground cherries grow inside a delicate, papery husk that turns a soft tan when the fruit is ripe. The fruit itself is a small, yellow marble that tastes like a sweet and tart tropical explosion, often compared to pineapple and strawberry. The best part was the harvest. Grandma would send the kids out to gather the fallen fruit. When they're ripe, they drop to the ground. Get it? We'd scour the dirt, our small hands filling baskets with these little wrapped gifts. A treasure hunt and a tasty snack, all wrapped up in one natural package. Pun intended. Ugli Fruit. The name says it all. This Jamaican native isn't the prettiest fruit in the basket. Take a look at this. It's a citrus fruit that looks like a grapefruit that had a rough night and got in a fight. But Grandma, who knew a thing or two about looking past surfaces, especially with her garden produce, saw its inner beauty. A Tangelo hybrid, the ugly fruit is a glorious mess of bumpy, loose, discolored skin. But when you peel it back, which is surprisingly easy, you'll find perfection. The flesh is sweet, juicy, and almost seedless. the kind of sweetness that erases any memory of its ugly exterior. It's less bitter than a grapefruit and easier to peel than an orange. It was Grandma's favorite lesson in not judging a book or a fruit by its cover. Its beauty was on the inside. It was deliciously juicy. Mulberry. How about a fruit that made it impossible to plead innocence? Its deep purple stain was evidence that lingered long after the pie had been stolen. Grandma would always catch us purple-handed. The fruit in question is the mulberry, a fruit that came with a memory of purple-stained feet, hands, and mouths, and a tree that was a paradise for kids and birds alike. Mulberries look like long, fat blackberries, but grow on massive, generous trees. They are incredibly juicy and sweet, with a mild, almost plain flavor that is just Moorish. The problem? They have a very short shelf life and stain everything they touch a permanent, vibrant purple. For Grandma, the tree was a source of endless summer joy and baking. She'd lay old sheets under the tree and shake the branches, raining down berries for us to collect for mulberry pies, wines, and syrups. A fruit that encourages messiness, but it was all so worth it. Rose hip. After the beautiful rose bloom faded, it didn't just leave behind a beautiful scent that lingered for months. It also left behind a secret treat, the vitamin C-packed, tart, and brilliant red rose hip. Grandma didn't just grow fancy hybrid tea roses for their looks. Although they were absolute showstoppers, she grew old-fashioned, rugosa, or dog roses because they produced large, flavorful hips. In the crisp days of autumn, she'd carefully collect them, split them, painstakingly remove the seeds, and use the tangy, fruity flesh to make the most incredible ruby red jelly, syrup, or a tart tea. It was her natural, tried-and-true remedy for staving off winter colds, a spoonful of scarlet medicine that tasted of summer. Who knew the ultimate symbol of romance could have such a tart and healthy little secret hiding behind its beautiful petals? Well, Grandma did, and now you do too. Rambutan. If a sea urchin and a lychee fell in love, their child would be the rambutan. Quite like the ugly fruit, it was a frightening-looking thing that hid a sweet heart. For gardeners in frost-free zones, this was the ultimate flex, a true exotic marvel. This tropical fruit is covered in soft, flexible red and green spikes to scare off regulars and hide its true beauty. But you just give it a twist and pop it open. Inside is a glossy, white or pale pink flesh that is juicy and sweet, similar to a lychee but often creamier. While more common in the tropics, adventurous gardeners with greenhouses or living in frost-free zones might have tried their hands at this stunning tree. It looks like it could hurt you, but it only wants to love you with its sugary goodness. American Persimmon. The American Persimmon is yet another lesson in timing. Eat it too early, and that's your entire day ruined, a mistake you only make once. Wait for a frost, and you'll taste caramelly bliss. Grandma taught us that the best things are worth waiting for, especially in gardening. These small native fruits hang on the tree like forgotten orange Christmas ornaments long after the leaves have fallen. They are brutally astringent and dry until they become so ripe that they are practically mushy. Then you can enjoy perfection. The texture becomes like a soft, smooth pudding, and the flavor is deep, sweet, and complex, with notes of brown sugar, dates, and honey. Grandma would take these flavor notes even further, making persimmon pudding or cookies. Wineberry. Meet the raspberry's more glamorous Asian cousin. It was a foraged treasure that looked like it was made of glowing orange jewels. This is the wineberry, a type of raspberry that grows on canes covered in fine reddish hairs. The fruit itself is a stunning translucent orange red, like a little gemstone filled with light. It's more tart and complex than a standard raspberry, with a unique winey flavor. Hence the name. Grandma usually found these naturalized at the edge of the woods, and a trip to pick them was a summer pilgrimage. They made a beautiful, uniquely flavored jam with a stunning color, or were simply eaten fresh on the spot, their sticky scarlet juice staining our fingers, a sure sign of a successful and happy forage. Salak, the snake fruit. Younger me probably thought this fruit looked downright scary. A reddish-brown, scaled exterior that looks like a reptile guards some treasure inside. And yes, there's actually a treasure within, the salak, or snake fruit. Despite its fierce look, salak's flesh is a crunchy, tangy sweet delight, a juicy medley somewhere between pineapple, banana, and apple. Grandma would sit on the porch peeling these fruits with a secret smile, knowing she had a conversation starter to tease the grandkids with. The satisfying snap of its flesh when you bite into it was like a happy garden drum roll, a memory that doesn't fade easily. And finally, the piece de resistance, the fruit that is the definition of weird and wonderful. Miracle fruit. And now, the fruit that plays tricks on your tongue. Are you a kid who loved lemonade but still frowned at the sour? Well, enter miracle fruit, a tiny berry with quite the magic trick. After eating it, sour things like lemons and limes suddenly taste downright sweet. The miracle fruit is a small, red berry with one twist. It contains a glycoprotein called miraculin that temporarily binds to your taste buds. For about 30 minutes after eating one, sour and bitter foods taste incredibly sweet. Lemons taste like the sweetest lemonade, vinegar tastes like apple juice, and stout beer tastes like a chocolate shake. It's a sensory experience like no other. Grandma would gather all the kids together, pull out these miracle berries, literally, and then the experiments would begin. The ultimate proof that Grandma was growing magic. Fig year. Okay, you know figs. No surprise there. But do you know the sheer joy of picking a warm, sun-ripened fig from the tree with Grandma, splitting it open, and seeing the jeweled, honey-like nectar within? When I think of figs, those are the memories that flood my mind. Grandma didn't just have brown turkey figs growing out back. She also grew Celeste, small and super sweet, and Chicago Hardy, to survive cold winters with a little extra mulch and care. She loved figs for their flavor and history, and rightfully so. A perfectly ripe fig is near impossible to transport. It's too delicate and fleeting. So homegrown was the only way to enjoy its true pleasure. She'd eat them fresh with a mere dollop of cream, dry them on screens in the late summer sun for winter, or bake them into iconic fig Newton-style bars that were infinitely better than anything from a box. A taste of ancient luxury you could only enjoy from your garden. So there you have it. 25 weird, wonderful, and mostly forgotten fruits that were the pride and joy of gardens past. Well, next time you think about Grandma's fruit bowl, think wild, think weird, think wonder, and maybe try growing one of these yourself. So tell us, did we bring back some memories, or did you learn something new today? Which of these fruits is a part of your childhood? Please like, subscribe, and happy growing. Until next time, my green-thumbed friends.